Second.
Motion is second. Commissioner Schwab?
You know, having this problem with these CDLs and getting people, is there
Please speak in the mic.
Is there any interest in, if somebody wants to get a CDL that the county pays for their license? They pay, but the county will pay them back, say $1,000 a year.
Pam?
We do have that program set up. Desiree Hilborn in my office has set that up with the North Dakota Safety Council to do the classroom part of it. And we do have certified trainers set up that are our employees that can do that. So if we have to, we can do that. We are set up. We've just never had to pull the trigger and use it yet.
Well, let's do that.
Yeah, let's make sure
Do
that
that.
happens. I know Train ND is also another resource as far as having conversations with them.
BSC.
Yeah, well, that's the Train ND through, and that's actually a state-funded program that they have some different options as well. Have you reached out to them at all?
We reached out to them when we started
Okay.
our program because we were working in conjunction with the North Dakota Safety Council.
Okay.
Starting it out. So everybody's in the loop.
Do those conversations continue?
They do continue. We just haven't had to deal with it yet.
Commissioner Bender?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that any potential driver who would be able to get his CDL in this sort of fashion would be a real benefit, not only for the county, but for the employee themselves, because that's a heavy lift. If you want to go to that training and you are not working in that field, coming up with 5,000 to 8,000 to get CDL is a really big deal. So I think it would be helpful.
Now, is there a component to that program that works on the retention side so that somebody doesn't go through the door? And
There's a clawback. We work with
Okay.
State's Attorney Lawyer's Office for the clawback.
Perfect. Any other discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Schwab,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox,
yes,
Commissioner Munson,
Yes.
Commissioner Bittner,
Yes.
Chairman Bakken.
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Item number 10, County Auditor Treasurer Splankowski. A, reevaluation of job descriptions for the Finance Department. B, unclaimed property. And C, consideration of changing collection process for 911 fees.
So the first item here is one that was carried over from the last special meeting that we had. As far as the structure goes, the commissioner, you all have that in your packet as far as the proposed potential structure here. I'll put it up on the screen if I may. Everybody else can see it. There were some concerns or questions brought forward during that meeting that we were directed to clarify. I don't know if Julie Lawyer, she has those clarifications, but that's kind of where we left it at the end of that special meeting. We've worked on this layout here, myself, the former deputy finance director, and then with input from some other people as well to try to come up with a solution to what we're kind of dealing with right now. And that's kind of where we left it at that point.
Yeah, Julie, first of all, we had a compliance issue that needed to get addressed.
Yes, and unfortunately, I was out sick most of last week, so I didn't get a chance to take a look at the structure that was proposed when the offices were combined. My understanding is and what I'm talking about is when the offices of treasurer and auditor were combined, then a plan had to be made as to how those offices were going to be set up and statutory duties could be shifted. My understanding, again, from my reading of that structure or that proposed structure that was given to the voters, is that the deputy or the finance director was going to be on their own. And so if that is the case, then it's fine to leave it that way, because again, those job duties per statute could be rearranged. And so it looks like with the combination of those two offices, that was corrected then in 1998, I want to say, is when that was done. So with that plan and the way that we combine the offices, the structure is correct.
Okay. Any other discussion on that proposed plan?
No, I just,
Commissioner Britton?
yeah, I just need to reiterate, the reason that I asked Marv Heiner to come here was to point out the reasons that was done to begin with. Those reasons haven't changed. You know, the checks and balances that are required for the county, the size of Burleigh County, are pretty significant. And I think it's absolutely important that the auditor treasurer's office functions as Century Code requires them to do, and that the finance department retains the current structure reporting to the county commission. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Chair
Commissioner Munson.
Logan. So, and this is maybe more for Pam at HR. Currently, we have the job description open for the finance director or the assistant finance director. We've had no applicants. We need to authorize it to be reposted. I'm assuming that would be the appropriate time now to do that. Wherever they fall within this, we would need to reauthorize that. So I would make that motion at this point to authorize HR to get that position noticed so that we can at least start taking applications.
Second.
Motion is second. Any other discussion? Auditor Sponskowski, do you have any comments on that?
So in an effort to not, dare I say, beat a dead horse, I would hate to see the county post another position that's exactly the same that received absolutely nothing back. And so what I would encourage the commission to do is discuss how that position, what the structure of that position should be, and what proper compensation for that position should be. Because the big reason, because when that position is empty, all of those duties fall into myself and to my office, which was referred to in the last item that was discussed. And so I would just encourage the commission to discuss how to properly set that position up as well as properly compensate
That's
that
true.
position.
Commissioner Ritter?
The positions you're referring to, auditor, are statutory responsibilities of the auditor and the treasurer's office, right? The finance department is an oversight role that reports to the county commission. So I think the burden is on you to rise to the position that you got elected to.
Well, and so under statute, that's correct. So basically, ever since the position was set up, the finance director was doing duties that statutorily are under the auditor. And that is why when this position, though a position is no longer filled, those duties come back onto the auditor's position. However, it's been the commission's decision to have the oversight of that position as the county commission. Now, if, as Julie had referred to earlier, the allocation of the duties for that position that is referred to in Century Code has been now reallocated over to the finance director position. And so that is where if the commission does not want the finance director to do the duties that it has been doing for the last foreseeable history, that's the commission's decision. However, then we need another position for our office to do those duties, because every single person who's hired under the auditor's office is doing the work that is statutorily under the auditor. They are all doing the work of the auditor. And so, basically, if they want to get rid of the finance director position or get rid of the duties that position is doing, well, if that's the guise that commission wants to do that, well, we might as well get rid of the elections coordinator. We might as well get rid of every single person that's up front, because they're all doing the duties of the auditor.
Well, that's not where I was going with this, and so I apologize. My biggest concern was we no longer are asking for a finance director. So I wanted to make sure that we were wherever they sit on this flow chart. I don't care at this point. I care that we're asking for applications to fill the roles, number one. That's the most important part. Okay. Now, number two, where they fall, what their actual title is, and that's where I'm going to ask Pam. We have been looking for a finance director or an assistant finance director, or both.
Yeah.
The
and
finance
that's where I
director,
asked-
Commissioner Munson, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, that's where I asked her to come up with a new
Mhm.
position
comptroller
title, the
position.
comptroller,
Yeah.
yep, so that we're,
The finance director position was only advertised last November.
Okay.
That's the last time the finance director position was advertised. The assistant finance director position was an internal advertisement, and we got an internal candidate. The senior accountant comptroller position was advertised for 5 days, 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So that's, I do have the finance director job description to hand out if you want it.
sure. Well,
Yeah,
I
please
think
do.
that would be good.
Part of my concern on this flow chart is we're asking for both the finance director and the comptroller. I need to know what we're actually looking for applications for.
At this point, I think we'll take, if there's an applicant for the finance director that would answer it, if there's a comptroller that would answer it, I think that would give us more flexibility.
Right.
At this.
So Pam, in the job descriptions, are there any tweaking that we need to do, or is there anything that needs to be adjusted in an attempt to get applicants for those positions?
I think we need to put it out as is, because this position, although it says finance director, it's actually an internal auditor. But we already have an auditor who does the finance. So we made this the finance director position. So it's as clear as mud. In a private business,
Why
you
I'm
would have
asking.
your internal auditor that reports to your board. That's this position. They do the board variance reporting on budget. They do the internal controls for everything finance. So it'd be auditor, treasurer, payroll, benefits. So it would cover my department as well for audits, annual audit, internal audits. When Marv Heiner was talking, that's exactly what he did. This is the position that they came up with. I don't know how it got morphed into more of a finance direct role. This position shouldn't be doing the general ledger adjustments, transactions. They should be reviewing them. They're the true internal auditor.
I think commissioners, that's one of the key things is that the finance director, Clyde was really good at his job, and he picked up additional duties, I believe, that weren't necessarily under that wheelhouse to begin with. So
He grew into a little bit of a different position. more of a
right,
hybrid.
right. But the original intent is still valid. The checks and balances that are afforded by this position to the county commission is very important. And I think we need to just maintain that. At the end of the day, what we actually end up calling them isn't the thing so much as that it's a checks and balances that ensures accountability for the citizens of Burleigh County.
And Mr. Chair, and that's where I'm a little, at this point, the flow chart doesn't matter to me.
No.
What matters to me is filling the roles. Once we have those roles filled, then I have no issue going back through this flow chart and deciding how it works. Do we have a comptroller in place?
So as of right now, we do not, and that's why part of the process that we were trying to bring forward is kind of what you were saying, Commissioner Munson, is that 3-month goal and then that 3-month past
Right.
goal. And so obviously the 3-month goal is part of get through this year, get our mill levies calculated correctly, hopefully fill this position with a great candidate, and then that 3-month plus plan is to set up the office the way that it needs to be so it can function as well as it possibly
Right.
can.
And so no disrespect, Auditor Sponskowski, I certainly understand the flow chart. We need bodies in these roles before we can worry about a flow chart, in my opinion.
And if that's the wishes of the commission, that's not a
Yeah.
problem. Again, so long as the duties that need to get done are getting done.
Correct.
And so it's up to the commission and what they want this position to turn into. In my opinion, we have an internal auditor. You're looking at him. And as far as getting all the work done, if the commission wants to have a finance director that's reporting to the commission, that's up to the commission. So long as the duties are getting done. However, I can tell you if you take a lot of those duties off of this position, that's up to you. However, I'll need another accountant for our position, for our office, if that's taken off of this position.
Sure.
And as far as I am concerned, I would rather have less employees than more because that makes more of a tax burden on the taxpayers.
Mr. Chair, if I can,
Go ahead.
Pam, the comptroller job description is created. Is that being advertised?
It is not right now. It was pulled
Okay.
because it was advertised for 5 days and we pulled it because you only authorized us
No,
for 5 days.
I get that. I just wanted that clarification for everybody as well. So I have a motion and there's a second for the finance director to be advertised. I don't want to get duplicated, but I will also make a motion to advertise for the comptroller position as well so that we can figure that out.
I think
Mr. Brenner?
if we can discuss that a little bit, I think we need to advertise all three positions yet. Because there was the finance director, the assistant, and the comptroller. We're just talking semantics here.
Correct.
So if Pam is all right with advertising, I'm certainly okay with.
All three positions.
I mean,
Do I
if
amend my
we were
original motion
to
for that?
get two applicants that had similar things, that maybe that would answer, maybe we need to add an accountant to the auditor's staff or something. There's options that would give us more options, I think.
Sure.
So you're looking to add 2 more positions?
We're going to advertise for.
So if you want to
three.
withdraw your
I will
original
withdraw my
motion
motion.
and
No,
your
we'll withdraw the
second,
second.
and then remake your motion for all three. then-
I will move that we ask HR to advertise for the finance director, comptroller, and the assistant finance director.
You want to leave that open-ended?
I don't want to put a
until
time frame on
filled?
it. Until filled. Yes.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Woodcox?
I think we've been working on this problem for a long time, and if we haven't reconsidered the salary ranges of these 3 positions, we're just going to be spinning our wheels again for another month or 2, or whatever it takes, getting very few or limited applicants. Shouldn't we be considering those salary ranges of all 3 of those openings?
Pam, do you have anything to add on that, please?
I did some quick salary research, so to speak, mainly on the finance director position, which is the highest position. Right now, it's at a grade 16, so the minimum for 2023 is $87,506. The midpoint, which is at pay step 9, is at $109,179.20. If they're looking for like a CPA senior accountant, there's a place in Bismarck that's looking, and they're advertising $81,000 and $93,000. There's a CPA comptroller for City of Bismarck, and they're advertising for $101,000, almost $102,000 to $114,000. CHI is looking for a finance manager at $100,000 to $158,000. So those are comparables.
Are they comparable, though? Are they the same
We're
ranges
low.
we're looking at? We're low, aren't we?
We're a little low. If we went up to a grade 17, which is the grade above, because this position kind of analyzes out right at the top of a 16. And we went to a 17 for 2023, it would be $91,873 for the minimum. The midpoint would be $114,628, and the max would be $142,209. And that would change with a max of $146,452.80 in 2024.
Commissioner Bender?
It seems to make sense to me to increase the salary range because we have not been, it's like you're fishing, but the bait isn't there. You know,
Fishing with a bare hook.
so I think that it makes sense.
All 3 positions.
I'd take Pam's, she's done really good research and she's done good with the job descriptions and she knows way more about it. I'd try to follow her advice on this.
If we were looking for a CPA requirement on all 3, I would up them each by 1 pay grade.
So, Pam,
we-
are we better off? Are we able to just hire for 1 CPA and not the other two, and I'll defer to you on which one should be where, but the finance director part, I'm thinking, that may or may not, considering the oversight side of that. I have a hard time believing that we would be able to hire 3 CPAs at this time. So what that job description looks like matters. So Commissioner Bitter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think we're going to get 3 CPAs. If it works out, we get a couple of accountants or high-level accountants, that's one thing, but one of them needs to be
One
a
of them needs to
CPA.
be, do you have a,
So the finance director should be the CPA because they're the one working the internal controls.
Yep.
The other two it's not required to be CPAs, but they do have to have some accounting experience.
we need one in the
Right,
office,
and
so.
if I could add to that, one of the reasons that's significant is because to obtain a CPA, you have to demonstrate financial
Proficiency.
proficiencies. Yes, it's an actual field that matters. So, thank you.
Internal controls are one requirement, one section of the CPA test. Federal regulations are another. So the GASB and the government, what is it? GASB and GASB.
Generally accepted.
Yeah, general accepted accounting principles, standard principles, GAAP.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's reasons for that.
Commissioner Munson?
Mr. Chair, so even though we're looking for 1 CPA, do the other 2 job descriptions offer enough pay to get the applicants
Without the CPA.
without the CPA?
Without the CPA, I think they're within the ballpark from where I was looking, because even the CPA for like a tax accountant who's anywhere from 60,000 to 85,000, and a financial analyst is 57,000 to 86,000. So it's right within the ballpark.
So the assistant and the comptroller are fine.
Yep.
Okay. If I might, Commissioner,
Spotsylvania?
Just some suggestion, because what I would love to do is I want to see the commission successful. That's because if the commission is successful, our office is successful, Burleigh County is successful. I've done a lot of talking to a lot of different CPAs. I have friends who are CPAs, and you're not going to get anybody to even look at this application for a CPA for less than $130,000. It's just not going to happen. If the commission wants to advertise for less, they sure can. I just don't want to see it dragged on forever and ever, and then eventually having to get there anyways. And that's much more similar to where our last finance director, who was a CPA, left. It's a lot closer to where the salary he left at, and the duties have remained the same. And so I think just want food for thought for the commission.
Pam, do you have anything to add on those numbers? Because like you said, you ran through a list of openings that we're advertising, but
Yeah.
they're open too.
Yeah, they're open as well.
Yeah.
And these are CPA required. So the comptroller for the city of Bismarck, the top end for them is 114,679 for hiring range.
I think as long as we're close to those,
We can move up
dealing
pay
with the same
steps
pool.
within the range. Our problem is we're not a merit system. We're a pay
Right.
step system. We're almost like a union pay scale, for lack of a better word. We aren't merit. We don't give, when we do a 3% COLA, it's applied evenly to everyone. So we have adopted a pay grade and pay step structure in lieu of a merit.
Okay, thank you, Pam. For discussion, I would like to add, Pam, if you can give us updates on those positions at every meeting and where they're at. If we need to adjust accordingly at some point, we will. It'd be really nice to have at least one, if not 2 or 3 of those positions filled as we're going through this process, because there's a lot of institutional knowledge that needs to be gained out of that as well, and somebody just can't come into that position, so, or any of those positions from a municipality standpoint, so, and learn everything. Any other discussion?
Chair, do we need a motion to increase to step 17?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's
Get through the first,
let's do first motion.
and then I'll make another. Yep.
Any other discussion on the motion on the table for reposting all 3 positions? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Schwab,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodcox,
Yes.
Commissioner Munson,
Yes.
Commissioner Bittner,
Yes.
Chairman Bakken.
Yes, motion carried.
I will
Commissioner
move
Munson.
that we move the job description or the pay range for the finance director up to step 17.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Schwab,
No.
Commissioner Woodcox,
Yes.
Commissioner Munson,
Yes.
Commissioner Bittner,
Yes.
Chairman Bakken.
Yes, motion carried. I would like to add, I like some of the look on this flow chart. And I think from a oversight perspective, this is something that this commission needs to look at again down the road upon the hiring of a county administrator. If that comes to fruition at some point, I think then this could be back on the table. So just throwing that out there for a point of discussion, future discussion. Next item.
So the next item we have is the unclaimed property.